3, 2, 1, action. This is going to be the first ever solo Strong Life podcast, aka the STRONGCast, and this is going to be a really cool one. They're all cool, but this one is going to be unique in that I want to really share some of the things for those of you that have been following me through the social media outlets on Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams. You guys have seen that I took a trip up to Vermont and organized some filming there with my boys from Barbell Shrugged to do some filming with Joe DeCina, the founder of the Spartan race. Now, this is your first time visiting the Strong Life podcast. Make sure that you stay up to date with all the things that we do about building a strong mind, strong body, and a strong life. Go to undergroundstrength.tv, sign up for the newsletter. Going to hook you up with a powerful training course. Couple of free gifts in there. Some of them are going to be unannounced. You're going to love it. And get on over there and subscribe to the newsletter. And then make sure you also subscribe and give us a 5-star review. And if you're new here, how are you going to give us a 5-star review? Well, this podcast kicks ass, kids. So let's get rocking with this one. So the date that we went up to Vermont, I drove up there. Today is May 2nd. I believe I was up there on April, let's take a quick look here. April 29th, drove on up to Vermont, about 6, maybe a little bit longer than a 6-hour drive. And that was on Tuesday night. Then our whole plan, our day was essentially mapped out by Joe. And knowing Joe through an earlier episode of the STRONGCast, I knew that he was going to want to really give us the full-blown Spartan lifestyle, the Spartan experience. And he's such a believer in the way the Spartans lived that he's actually implementing that lifestyle for himself and in a way really his entire family. And I'm going to kind of get into a typical day with Joe, which is pretty intense for really, I guess, a quote-unquote normal person. But for him and for others that are really adopting that Spartan lifestyle, it is becoming a thing of normalcy. It's just a normal thing to get out there and be an ass kicker. So we were supposed to meet Joe at 5 a.m. on his property. I'm not sure how big all that property is, but it is monstrous. Huge would be a vast understatement. So we were to meet him at 5 a.m. and myself and the guys were going to drive over from where we were staying at 4:45. I had set my alarm for 4:15. And I actually woke up at 3:30 a.m. and went to bed pretty late. Had a hard time falling asleep just because I was pumped up. I was excited to spend time with Joe, to hang out with my buddies. And I was also a little bit nervous, dealing with a little bit of an injury. And the unknown is always, it just like sparks those nerves. My adrenaline was going. So I think I slept about 3 hours, maybe a little bit less. And we met up on Joe's property at 5 on the dot. There, obviously, the sun had not risen yet, and Joe brought us into his kitchen. He tried figuring out how to make coffee. He had no clue how to make coffee, so we just went outside and began training, following Joe's lead. And it was a little bit of a rain coming down, but it was actually beautiful. And there's a nice hill on the side of his property that we were supposed to do 10 times. And I don't think Joe learned how to count ever, unless that is a normal thing that goes on over there. But we're supposed to run up and down this hill 10 times, and I would easily say we did it more in the 13, 14, or 15 time range. And that was definitely well over a mile. And I actually felt pretty good condition, stamina-wise, but it was my my ankle and my Achilles that sucked, which pisses me off. Because I don't like to harp and say, oh, this hurts, that hurts. And so what I did was I just shut my mouth and made it work. And I ran and kept going, and I didn't stop. And that's something that I really learned heavily through my studies of all these Navy SEAL books. And it's constantly talking about never quitting, no matter what. And so the quit was just not in my mind, and just letting my body handle its own pain. And reading through Joe's book, which I've got floating around here, I'm going to show you guys. I actually just got it a second time. I'll have to find it for you guys. It is an amazing book. I've got copies of them floating around in my car, upstairs, everywhere. Spartan the fuck up. Joe talks about changing your frame of reference, that you think that you have these things so hard in your life until you start thinking about what truly was hard. And I've shared with Joe some of my personal history, my personal stories from family, things about my grandfather and my grandparents, and how I actually got my first and middle name. And, it changes your frame of reference. You think you've got it hard until you realize people that were in war or multiple wars, or people that are fighting, literally fighting for food. And here we are with all of our freedom, our health, and I've got this little injury. And really in my head, all I had to say was, hey, Spartan the fuck up and just get it done. So after we were outside running for a bit, the darkness slowly crept into some sunlight, and behind his house is the mountains, and it is truly it's a breathtaking sight. And I haven't been in too many places where you see the power of what you're looking at, and it just blew me away. I thought it was beautiful, and I was able to take my focus off of any of my own pain and just focus on other things, and it powers me through. And that's something that you guys want to start doing. If you're ever training in a group, or you're in pain, put the focus on something else other than yourself. Be grateful for the pain that you're experiencing, because some people would give anything to be in your kind of pain. And I think just being there that morning from the get-go taught all of us to be grateful for everything. And Joe is just a super cool guy. He was very laid back. He's like hanging out with your buddy. And after that, he took us into one of his barns, which is where it's an old barn that they converted, and they actually have weddings there and probably other parties as well. But it is beautiful, and for those of you that have been following me for a long time, you've heard me speak many times about my dream and my passion to have a barn gym. And being inside that barn was truly amazing, and it was beautiful. The flooring and everything, and all the wood and everything was this very old wood, and it kind of had this powerful feeling that's very difficult to put into words, but you feel it when you are inside of there. And he had a climbing rope. We didn't use it, but I saw a steel pegboard. I'm pretty sure that's what that was. He had a pull-up bar attached to some of the frames that were standing up through the barn. He had a couple of those, I think they're called sand bells. They're kind of like bags filled with thick sand. He had that. There was rings for doing recline rowing. He had a jump rope there. And Joe's big thing is doing a lot of burpees, training outside, manual labor. And the workout when we got inside was 100 reps of each of these exercises. Double unders, burpees, pull-ups or recline rows, 25 reps of the rope climb. Then he did a unique pistol variation. It looked almost like a yoga motion, where you fold one leg over the other and you held on to one of the beams inside the barn. And it was a modified pistol, but also a stretch for the hips, which felt great and really showed how immobile I am. And if any of you have ever seen me, you see that the heavy lifting has taken its toll. But heavy lifting is something that I have such a passion for, that I'll never stop chasing strength, various types of strength. So double unders, burpees, recline rows, the pistols, the pull-ups, and the rope climbs. And then Joe was also doing sandbag thrusters against the wall. So he wasn't throwing the bag, he just kept the bag pressed up against the wall, and it was pretty unique. So went through that workout, and it was brutal. And the rope was even tougher because it wasn't like a typical manila rope. It has like that wax covering. And I was really impressed to see Joe charge through that workout. And really the house rules are, when you're training and you go to somebody else's place, follow their workout. That way you learn something. If you think that staying in your comfort zone is going to help you, no good. I'm going to John Smith's gym, I'm going to do my own thing. Follow somebody else's workout. Number one, like I mentioned before, you're going to learn. And number two, it gets you comfortable out of your comfort zone. Like I always say, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And when you start trying to avoid the reasons why you need to do somebody else's workout, you're really just being an excuse maker, and that does not have a carryover to life. You want to have opportunity to do the shit that maybe you don't even want to do. I'm sure that some of the guys in the barbell shrug group are not super excited about running. These are, guys that are into heavy lifting, weightlifting, Olympic style weightlifting. So after we did that workout, or during the time that we did that workout, Joe's 3 kids came into the barn. They have a wrestling coach and a kung fu coach, and they went through a bunch of bodyweight training, animal movements, a lot of unique stuff, and they were in their pajamas. They were in that barn at 6 a.m., and he's training them the same way the kids were trained. I don't know about the same way, but he's training them the way the kids were trained in the Spartan culture, which is a lot of hard physical training and a lot of mental toughness at an early age, at a very early age, and it's really unique to see that. After we went through that morning workout, we went back to the hotel. We got cleaned up. Some of the guys had to do some of their tech stuff to get ready for the podcast, and then we headed back over. We worked straight through. Actually, my bad. After we finished the workout, we went and got breakfast at Joe's General Store, and I had eaten there before with Mark Devon, and it's this amazing place with amazing food. It's a little store, and they sell things like syrup, butter, milk, wine, things of that nature, cards, books, but they've got amazing food there and these amazing green drinks. And Joe is a huge believer in greens and very much eating that plant-based lifestyle like my buddy Johnny Hines does. So for breakfast, we had eggs and we had the potatoes that he spoke about in our podcast, the potatoes with the garlic. And then after that, that's when we broke up. We literally had maybe an hour and a half break, and then we went back and started working. And Joe is the guy that he starts training at 5 a.m. Or 5. Usually he said he's in the barn from 5:30 to 7:30. But he essentially, I think he does like a 2-hour workout, 7 days a week, no days off, and then he just works. He works around the clock. I'm not sure how he does his lunch breaks or anything like that, but we did our work, we grabbed lunch, and we again started working straight through. It was just this nonstop push. But I tell you what, nobody was tired because we were having so much freaking fun, and that is a big lesson that I always try to inspire and impress upon others, is that when you love what you're doing, you don't realize the time. You don't dread Sunday nights because you're going to your shitty work on Monday. You don't dread the whole week and look forward to Friday. You don't live for the weekend. That's not you. You look at every day as a gift, and you don't see it as, oh my gosh, this is such hard work. I'm grinding. Here and there, yeah, you're pushing that, you're feeling that grind, but when you're doing what you love, like what we were doing in all these different elements, you just fall in love with what you're doing, and you have the energy. And that's going to take me to the next thing I want to talk to you about is Joe and the guy that runs their farm. It's called Sweet Georgia Peas, and P as in just the letter P. They took us through small areas of their farm, which is all natural, and it was amazing. And I'm going to ask you guys a question. I'm 38, and I said to Joe, who's the guy that runs Sweet Georgia Peas, that's the farm on the property, the Spartan property, I said, when I was in elementary school, middle school, and even in high school, I never, ever recalled, especially elementary, middle school, I don't ever recall my friends, and ask yourself if you do, ever saying, my father or mother has cancer or this person has cancer. I don't ever recall hearing that shit. And through the past 10 years or so, it has become like a common thing that I hear about. And I don't think it's just because I'm more aware. Think about it, guys. When you were younger, in the 80s and 90s, if you're about my age, how often did you hear of cancer? Very, very rarely. And now that I'm a father, I addressed these concerns with Joe. We caught all this on video. And I said, listen, I want to be in a position where I want to start growing my own food. And he said the easiest thing you can do is have chickens. And it's very easy. And eggs are something that I eat every day. But they also we talked about raw milk and why that might be illegal in the majority of states. We spoke about really what is the difference between the organic, because sometimes that word it's actually been defined, I think, from the government, and it keeps getting tweaked. So organic, yes, it's a little bit healthier, but it's I think more and more kind of getting less pure. So that is very unfortunate. And I think really the only way for us to save ourselves is to be in this that old school environment of this community farming where I grow something, I trade it for the things that you're growing. Jeff Martone does this. Jeff Martone runs the website Tactical Athlete. The guy's one of the coolest dudes I ever met. He has chickens, and he trades those chickens for a buddy who raises pasture-free and grass-fed, or I guess free-range it would be called, beef. And that's what Joe, the farmer, spoke to me about. He said, listen, an animal could be grass-fed, but what if it's just locked up in a corner and has no room to roam? He goes, then it's not going to be that healthy. So he said, what we want, yes, we do want grass-fed, but we also want them to be free-range, pasture-free. We want them to be able to move around. So Joe showed us that they basically rotate where their cattle get to graze. So maybe in the summer and in the fall, they're on one section of the property. And then in the summer and fall, while the other section of the property is growing from growing naturally, then they're able to switch it. And then that area has grown, and then they move the cattle over to that area. And they just keep rotating the area. And essentially the environment supports itself. And one of the things that really pissed me off is when I left, because I had to drive home that same night, is I forgot to get eggs. I forgot to get to connect with their butcher. There was a lot of natural foods that I was going to connect with, and they do deliver. But I think they deliver down to in the upstate New York area. Now they said that the ways that these things would work is if they were going to be traveling somewhere, if a community of let's say 300 people were to buy in. He goes, then these things could happen, meaning they'd be willing to do all the traveling, and that is certainly something that all of us should be thinking about. If we look at the way health is going and the health of others and how food is so tampered with, I'm really recommending that all of us find ways to befriend and become friendly with and know our local farmers. And local for you might mean you have to drive 2 hours to do it. But I'm heavily thinking of taking a regular road trip and picking up things like these milk. You could buy meats and freeze the meats, milk, eggs, things like that. And people might say, well, is it worth it to go out of your way? I always answer with this. What price tag and what value can we put on our health? It is priceless, because without your health, you have nothing. So that was one of the favorite parts of my day, is just learning about the farming and learning about truly what natural farming and natural foods are. So from there, we spent time with Joe doing a lot of podcasting, a lot of speaking, talking about life. I met a good number of people that moved up to Pittsfield, Vermont to become part of the Spartan team. And it's a real cool way that Joe hires people. It's essentially all a test, because they have to do a lot of manual labor. They have to wake up early. They work extremely hard, and they don't get paid by the dollar. They don't get paid by money. They get paid through effort at first by him feeding them. They get to eat at the general store, their breakfast, their lunch, and their dinner. And then it's kind of like the weeding out of the weak. People quit. They get tired of waking up early, tired of working hard, tired of the cold. Whatever they get tired of, they leave. But he says it's out of that 60 to 70 people that you find that one gem of a person who's a very hard worker, committed to growing the team, and willing to do what it takes to go above and beyond, and not what we spoke about is work within the quote-unquote job description. Kind of like, You know, those of you that are gym owners out there, I always talk about this. A gym owner might say, oh, I'm not going to vacuum. I'm not going to clean. I'm a coach. That's not my job description. And Joe spoke about when he was building and cleaning swimming pools back when he was in, I think, his early 20s and late teens. That was his business. He had a multi-million-dollar business doing pool cleaning. He said he always did the extra. After cleaning the pools or fixing whatever needed to be fixed, he would go and straighten out the lawn chairs. He would sweep and clean. Something that took an extra 10 minutes, he would do it. And he said that very one thing is the thing that really built his business, is that word of mouth spread, because here was this young guy cleaning pools and then doing the extra inch. Kind of like that Al Pacino video, Inches. Those inches are what lead to the big successes. And that's how the word of mouth spread for Joe's business, is by him doing that little bit of extra right there. And the same thing I talk to with other people is I say, whatever you do, I don't care if you are a waiter, a waitress, and not saying one thing is better or worse than the other. Whatever it is you do it to be the best damn, John Smith in the world. Whatever it is that you do, find a way to become better at it, to go over, above and beyond, and to go over and outside of, that quote-unquote job description. Never do and never simply meet just the bare minimum needs. Don't just do the required work. Always do more, and you have to want that. You always have to want to have that improvement in you. Whatever it is that you do, you should be striving to climb to the top. And on my fan page, and those of you on Facebook, go to zachsfanpage.com, hit the like button. I shared a photo of me at the top of the mountain behind Joe's house, holding up a Spartan. It was made of steel. It was definitely some 75 pounds. That's why I see a little struggle doing a one-arm snatch out to the side with that sucker. And the mountains behind me, it was so freaking powerful. And I wrote that we should all be climbing mountains, both literally and figuratively. You should be climbing mountains, straining and struggling through physical intense exercise, and also mentally, emotionally, in your world, in your job and life, you should be climbing mountains, trying to improve yourself. And that is something that now I understand why Joe kept telling us, we got to climb this mountain. We got to climb this mountain. He didn't want to try to make us exercise more. I think that he really knew how we would feel when we got to the top. And when we took a break after one of our podcasts, we were running short on time. And in the back of our head, I know all of us were saying, maybe we should do the next podcast right now. And I said, you know what? The sun is still out. Let's go and do this mountain now. It'll be a great break. You never want to sit in front of a computer too much. Your fucking head will explode. And I feel like it just makes you a little bit weak. You need that outdoor fresh air, whether it's hot or cold. Spend time outside. Took that break, and we went up to the top of the mountain. And Joe runs something called the Death Race, which I understand it's like a different challenge all the time, but it lasts approximately 72 hours, little to no sleep, little to no food, and just not a physical strain on the body, but an extreme mental challenge on them, because he plays a lot of emotional and mental tricks on everybody. And one of the tasks of the group that went through, I'm not sure if it was the last death race, was that he wanted a mile of stairs built from stone. And they had all these stones at the bottom of the mountain. And I'm telling you that some of these stones looked like they were as big as a Mini Cooper, or almost the size of a Volkswagen. You look at that shit and you say to yourself, oh my God, did a team of Sasquatches put this shit together? And by the way, Joe doesn't believe in Sasquatch. And we all came to the agreement that if Sasquatch was real, even though they have Finding Bigfoot on TV, at least we would have found some Sasquatch shit somewhere in all of these mountains that they keep saying they're spotting and hearing Bigfoot. Anyway, I digress. This staircase, these stones were so huge. I mean, hundreds of pounds. If you've ever seen the Husafel stone, some of these stones were like, I really couldn't believe. And Joe challenged them, and I think gave them a 12-hour deadline to build a mile of stairs with those stones. And the thing about Joe, this is a huge learning lesson I want you to take. I want you to take into account is that I notice he doesn't get caught up in like, can this happen? Is it possible? He has this abundance mentality. He has this belief that he doesn't need to know all the specific details before moving forward. Very much reminds me of a book that Sir Richard Branson wrote called Screw It, Let's Do It, which is just like, listen, we need to not worry so much about the details. Can it happen? Don't deliberate over it. Believe in something and just start doing things, and the details figure their own self out. And I told Joe, I said, Joe, I have this funny feeling when those stones are all piled at the bottom of the mountain, you came up with that challenge, but you weren't sure, probably more, I said, you didn't think they could do it. But you also understood that anything could be done. Anything. And he said, exactly. He goes, I didn't think they could do it. And he goes, but I thought about the pyramids and how people thought that, like, aliens built the pyramids. He's like, these stones are so huge, and they were huge. Guys, I'm telling you, some of these stones were like half the size of a Volkswagen or the size of a little Mini Cooper. Huge. And he said, aliens didn't build the pyramids. And I'm convinced of that after I saw these guys build this mile of staircases. Not only was it a mile of stairs, it is quite a steep incline and extremely slippery terrain up there. They built that mile, and then beyond that mile, we get to the very top of the mountain, and there's a cabin up there. Very small cabin, but it's got like 2 little bunk beds in there. And of course, I see some other things up there. I see more stones. I see 2 tractor tires. So I knew that Joe's twisted mind, he challenged them to probably get those tires up there, had them doing, tire flips and who knows what else. And then you notice that there's vegetation and, trees and all that stuff everywhere. But then you notice that the area where the cabin is, the grass is cut. And I know that nobody took a lawnmower up there, and he told us that he had everybody use hand scissors, hand clippers to cut the grass up there. And, he is a crazy but an awesome, awesome guy. And with all the houses and the property that he has up there, he has been, if I have met people with a lot of money, he has been the guy that I've noticed to be little, if not ill affected by all the money that he has. People that have money are oftentimes, they're affected by it in good ways, okay? I don't want anybody to think I'm saying anything bad about money, because I am a big believer in making a lot of money. But when you have a lot of money, you have a different air of confidence to you. And Joe is the most relaxed, humble, hardworking, blue-collar guy that I have ever freaking met. And what an amazing guy. And when we got to the top of that mountain, we, of course, discussed life. That's what we were talking about really the whole time. Like, his book is not, Spartan Up the book or Spartan the Fuck Up the book is not about what it takes to race, to do a Spartan race. It is about life. And that's probably why Joe and I connect so much, is because lifting weights and all this training and the training of the athletes that I do is I love seeing them winning titles and achieving all-state, all-American, national champs. I love seeing that stuff. But what I love the most is what it teaches you about life and for the rest of your life. And it was very evident that during this one day with Joe, waking up early, training before the sun rises, training and pushing your body hard, treating people nicely, having honesty, having also high expectations, all of these kind of basic tenets of being a good person, that's the key. I always talk about it with Live the Code. It's really just the key. It's these old-fashioned traits that many people have forgotten about and that we need to revisit and share, not just ourselves, but instill it in others if we have any sort of impact on society, meaning you're a coach or you are a higher up person in the place that you work and you're in charge of other people. You have to instill and motivate and inspire others to live a greater life. And that's really what a true leader does. And what else does a true leader do? That leader leads from the front. And when we worked out, Joe killed the workout. And when we hiked that mountain, Joe crushed it. And everything that he expected in others, he does. Not did, he does. And it was an extremely powerful time. And one of the favorite things I learned about Joe was not so much that he's this, mentally tough guy who created this global company, but I love his abundance mentality. It's awesome. He's just always open to new ideas. He's forward thinking. He doesn't feel like he's can't bring this person on board where that person might take this idea. We're running out of room. And if you're an entrepreneur, you've likely been in that scarcity mindset. I certainly was in my past, where you're always worrying about what other people are doing. And then eventually you get to a point where you're like, fuck it. I'm just going to be me and kick ass, and that's it. And there's plenty of pieces of the pie for everybody. Of course, when people are unethical and do shady stuff, that's not the same thing as scarcity abundance. That's just separating yourself from people that have a good heart versus those that do not. And the things that are going on under, I guess, the Spartan umbrella taught me a lot about life. I was in Vermont for about 24 hours, and it was a life-changing experience. And that goes to show you that in a short time, you could change your life. You could change your mind. And a lot of things have changed my life. Certain books have inspired and changed my life. First one, especially, dating back to my high school years, was Arnold's Education of a Bodybuilder, the Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding. Then in my early years as a teacher, Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. These Navy SEAL and military books, Spartan the Fuck Up, has been amazing. And movies, of course, as well, inspirational movies. And Joe talks about that during our STRONGCast. So you'll have to look that one up or re-listen to that one. But you need to find ways to get more inspired. So if you think you're inspired already, inspire yourself and inspire others even more. If you need inspiration, then what you need to do is attend events or sign up for events that inspire you. So going back in the day when I was training for the SEAL Challenge, as soon as we committed, my training intensity and commitment to all things training went through the roof. Same thing with what happens that's why Joe does the Spartan race, because people are couch potatoes, and he saw what happens when people commit to signing up for a Spartan race. They have that nervous energy of like, oh shit, I need to be ready for this. And then what do? They start training hard. They start training extremely hard for that event. And he gets it. He understands that inspiring others to live a strong life themselves is what makes him happy. And he's up there in Pittsfield, Vermont, this small town of about 400 people, creating that Spartan community. I met a former New Jersey wrestler whose brother wrestled at Blair Academy under Coach Buxton. I met guys that were, they were overcoming various types of drug addiction, other people that were just lost in life, and they go up to Pittsfield to do hard work and to be part of that Spartan team and to be surround yourself with like-minded people. That's what's a big thing about keeping your energy going. So when you're around the right people, you are empowered and you are energized to just crush it. And the guys from Barbell Shrugged, they said this is probably the best podcast we ever did. And that was awesome to hear, because all of us together kind of masterminding, of course some of those things were not recorded, but the power of being around forward-thinking, optimistic, abundant-minded people is something you should aspire to be part of. And if you can't find it, then create it, then build it. Invite people to start training with you, to start having, power breakfast or a power lunch with you. Invite people to become part of what you're doing, part of something bigger. Create something big. We are on this earth not to be, clock punchers, average, going through the motions. And it's, in the end, it's this. You're going to have to ask yourself a question. And I asked Joe this question. I said, how would you inspire somebody, Joe, who's not doing the work that they need to be doing? And he said, I would have them ask themselves a question. Is this satisfactory? Is this fair? For example, I spoke about a coach who coaches a wrestling team, and that wrestling team routinely gets pounded. Routinely. Yet that coach is in the best area. They could train at the underground. Doesn't get much better than that. They could go to some of the best wrestling clubs, not just in New Jersey, but I am standing and saying some of the best wrestling clubs in the country. And none of those kids go there. And that coach should ask himself, is this satisfactory to put this kind of effort in for these kids to get their asses kicked? Because the leader has to inspire and build. And that's what you need to do. You have to build a very strong foundation to create something amazing. And what does that take? A lot of fucking work. And you've got to be ready to work. So, that being said, I want to thank you guys for the first solo of the Strong Life podcast, the STRONGCast. Make sure you hook me up with a 5-star review. I would really be grateful. That actually helps more people see us on iTunes, and I really want to spread the word about what it takes to live a strong life. This is huge. Make sure you check out SpartanUpTheBook.com, and of course, get our newsletter and let me hook you up with some free training courses at undergroundstrength.tv, and I'm easily able to be connected with through YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Those are easy places to find me. And I also want you guys to stay tuned. My book, The Encyclopedia of Underground Strength and Conditioning, looks like it's going to be out in July. We've sent out a bunch of preview copies. It is huge. It is just shy of 1,000 photos and just shy of 500 pages. So the preview copies that went out were black and white, but this will be a physical book, full-blown color photos. It's going to be inspirational, educational. It's going to make you want to kick so much ass. I can't wait for it to get out there to change the world. It will be the book that you read, as well as the book that you pass on to your children to read. And I'm really proud of it. And I also want to just say thank you to everybody for their support, because this book is really the kind of like the coming together of, I felt that I had a lot of ups and downs with the book, many downs that almost got me to not go and complete the book. And I felt like if I would have quit on it, that I would have been letting you guys down and letting my athletes down. And I refuse to let you down. I take my commitment to you crazy serious, and I'm grateful for everybody that's followed the underground strength movement. I'm really, really grateful. And I'm pumped beyond my words. My words can't really do justice to how psyched I am after my time in Vermont with Joe and my dudes from Barbell Shrug. So that's it, guys. Make sure, once again, go to undergroundstrength.tv, and I hope to see you at a future seminar. Got a lot of cool seminars going on, and all that stuff I always announce through the newsletter. All right, guys. Peace out. Live the code. Honesty, integrity, commitment, work ethic. Get after it. And peace. Take care. Comb your hair.